At 4:10 p.m. on August 14, 2003, something strange started happening inside the American power grid. Control room alarms began going off in Ohio. At first, it didn't seem like a major problem. Small outages happen all the time. Power lines trip. Systems reroute electricity. Engineers reset the system. But this time, something was different. Within minutes, entire cities began losing power. Lights flickered. Then whole neighborhoods went dark. Subways stopped inside tunnels. Traffic lights shut off across major intersections. And before anyone fully understood what was happening, 50 million people were suddenly without electricity. The largest blackout in North American history had already begun. Most people never think about how electricity actually reaches their homes. You flip a switch, the lights turn on. It feels simple, but behind the scenes, the system is massive. Thousands of power plants, tens of thousands of miles of transmission lines, hundreds of substations, all connected together in one enormous network called the power grid. Electricity moves across this network constantly, balancing supply and demand in real time. If demand increases, power plants generate more electricity. If a line fails, the grid automatically reroutes power. Most of the time, this system works perfectly. But the grid has one major weakness. Everything is connected. And when one part fails, the stress spreads everywhere else. On that hot afternoon in August 2003, the system was about to be pushed beyond its limits. The first problem happened in northern Ohio. High-voltage transmission lines were carrying electricity across the region. It was a hot summer day. Air conditioners were running everywhere. Electric demand was extremely high. When power lines carry heavy loads, they heat up. As they heat up, they begin to sag slightly. Normally, that isn't a problem. Transmission lines are installed high above the ground. But in this case, some of the trees beneath those lines hadn't been trimmed properly. As the lines sagged lower in the summer heat, one of them touched a tree branch. Immediately, the line shut down automatically to prevent damage. This kind of shutdown happens all the time. Normally, the grid compensates instantly. Electricity simply flows through other lines. But on that day, something else had already gone wrong. Inside the control center, a monitoring system had quietly failed. Engineers didn't see the warning signs. They didn't know the line had gone offline, and the grid was already starting to overload. When that first line shut down, electricity had to move through other transmission lines. Those lines began carrying more power than they were designed for. They started overheating. Safety systems triggered. Another line shut down. Then another. And another. Each shutdown pushed more electricity into the remaining lines. The process spread across the network like falling dominoes. Ohio lost major transmission lines. Michigan followed, then parts of Pennsylvania. The overload kept spreading. New York, Ontario, entire regions of the grid began collapsing. Within minutes, power plants started shutting down automatically to protect themselves. From space, the blackout would have looked like pieces of the continent suddenly disappearing. Cities that normally glow bright at night simply vanished. And millions of people were about to experience something modern societies rarely face: life without electricity. In New York City, the blackout struck during evening rush hour. Subways stopped immediately. Thousands of passengers were trapped underground inside trains. Elevators froze inside high-rise buildings. Office workers suddenly found themselves stuck dozens of floors above the street. Traffic lights across the city shut off. Intersections turned into chaos. Drivers didn't know who had the right of way. Cars blocked entire streets. Gridlock spread across the city within minutes. Police officers rushed into intersections to direct traffic manually. Meanwhile, millions of people began walking home. Bridges filled with crowds leaving Manhattan on foot. Gas stations couldn't pump fuel. ATMs stopped working. Stores closed their doors. Across the Northeast, millions of people suddenly realized how dependent daily life had become on electricity. For many cities, the blackout lasted more than 24 hours. Without electricity, basic services quickly became difficult. Air conditioning stopped working in the summer heat. Food inside refrigerators began to spoil. Communication networks struggled under heavy demand. Hospitals switched to emergency generators. Airports canceled flights. Factories stopped production. Water systems in some areas struggled to maintain pressure. Modern infrastructure depends heavily on electricity. Without it, the systems people rely on every day begin to break down. But something interesting also happened during the blackout. In many communities, people helped each other. Restaurants gave away food that would otherwise spoil. Neighbors checked on elderly residents. Families gathered outside to escape the heat inside their homes. For a brief moment, life slowed down. But the blackout also revealed something more important. Modern civilization depends on systems most people never see. And those systems are more fragile than they appear. After power was restored, investigators began asking a simple question. How could something this large happen? The answer surprised many people. The blackout wasn't caused by sabotage. It wasn't an attack. And it wasn't even a major storm. The entire cascade began with a few simple problems. Overgrown trees touching power lines, a software failure in a monitoring system, and a power grid operating near its maximum capacity. Those small failures combined into something massive, a chain reaction that shut down power across 8 US states and part of Canada. More than 50 million people lost electricity that day. The 2003 blackout cost billions of dollars. It disrupted transportation, business, and daily life across an entire region. But it also revealed something important. Modern society runs on systems that most people never think about. Electric grids, communication networks, supply chains, water systems. When those systems work, everything feels normal. But when they fail, life can change instantly. The blackout of 2003 started with a single transmission line touching a tree. Just one small failure. And within minutes, half a continent went dark. Which raises an important question. If the lights went out tonight, how prepared would you really be? Let me know in the comments. What's the first thing you would do?